Leonardo had always been a man of patience, someone who valued reflection over impulse. From a young age, he had been taught to control his emotions, to carefully assess situations before making decisions. This discipline had served him well throughout his career as a lawyer, helping him navigate complex cases with precision. It had also been the foundation of his marriage to Selina, his wife of 7 years. Their love story had been the kind people admired, effortless yet profound, built on mutual respect, unwavering support, and an unspoken understanding of each other's hearts. They had met in their early 20s at a mutual friend's party, where an instant connection had sparked between them. Through the years, their bond had remained strong, weathering the usual trials of life with grace. But lately, something had begun to shift. At first, the changes were barely noticeable, small enough to dismiss. A late night out here, a distracted moment there. Selina had always enjoyed spending time with her friends, and Leonardo had never questioned it. But lately, those nights had grown more frequent. Her phone seemed to buzz with endless notifications, and even when she was home, she felt distant, as if her mind was somewhere else entirely. Leonardo tried to silence the unease creeping into his thoughts. He trusted Selina. She had never given him a reason to doubt her before. And yet, deep down, something unsettled him, a quiet whisper in his mind that refused to be ignored. With each passing day, that whisper grew louder, turning into an unshakable feeling that their connection was slowly unraveling. One evening, the tension reached its breaking point. Leonardo sat at the kitchen table, sifting through a stack of legal documents. His focus split between the case before him and the nagging sense of unease that had been gnawing at him for weeks. The front door creaked open, and he heard Selina's soft footsteps in the hallway. It was a sound he knew well, yet tonight, something about it felt different, quieter, almost hesitant. A strange chill settled in the air. "You're late," he said, keeping his voice neutral, though the words carried more weight than he intended. It was the first time in weeks that he had acknowledged her absences out loud. Selina glanced at him, offering a small, tight smile. "I told you I was out with the girls," she replied, her tone just a little too defensive. Leonardo studied her, his sharp mind picking up on the subtleties in her expression. Something was off. Setting his papers aside, he met her gaze, his voice calm yet unwavering. "I've been noticing things, Selina. You've been distant, and I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong." For the briefest moment, her face hardened, as if she was weighing her next words carefully. Then she sighed and sat down across from him. "You're imagining things, Leo. There's nothing wrong. I've just been busy with work, you know that." But Leonardo wasn't convinced. He had spent years beside her, learning every nuance of her face, every shift in her voice. And right now she was deflecting. The woman sitting before him, the one he had built a life with, felt like a stranger. His heart began to race, but he forced himself to remain composed. "Selina," he said, quiet but firm, "I need you to be honest with me. Is there someone else?" For a fleeting second, something flickered in her eyes. Guilt, perhaps? But just as quickly, she masked it with a shrug. "You really think I'd cheat on you?" She let out a scoff. "I'm not that kind of person, Leo." His chest tightened. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice softer now. "You've been acting like someone I don't recognize lately." Selina looked away, her expression unreadable. A silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. The weight of unspoken words pressed down on Leonardo's shoulders, filling the space between them with something cold and unfamiliar. When she finally spoke, her words cut deeper than he could have ever anticipated. "You can't tell me who I sleep with, Leo," she said, her voice dismissive. "I'm an adult. I don't need your permission or approval." The words struck him like a physical blow. His breath hitched, and for a moment he could hardly think. He had always respected Selina's independence, had never sought to control her. But this wasn't a declaration of freedom. It was a blade aimed straight at the heart of their marriage. Leonardo swallowed the lump in his throat, forcing himself to remain steady. "I didn't ask for permission," he said slowly, the sadness seeping into his tone. "I asked for honesty. I thought we had that, Selina." She didn't answer right away. She simply stared at him, her eyes distant, detached. And then, with a quiet finality, she uttered words that sealed their fate. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you started questioning me." The silence that followed was deafening. The weight of her words settled heavily between them, and in that moment, Leonardo felt a profound, undeniable clarity. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This wasn't just a rough patch. This was the end of something he had once believed was unbreakable. This was more than just a betrayal of their vows. It was a betrayal of everything they had built together, every promise they had once whispered in the dark, every moment of trust they had shared. Leonardo felt the weight of it settle deep in his chest, heavy and suffocating. Without a word, he rose from the table, grabbed his jacket and keys, and stepped out into the cool night air. The silence of the world around him was in stark contrast to the storm raging in his mind. Part of him wanted to demand answers, to confront Selena, to force her to look him in the eye and tell him why. But another part of him knew that no answer would ever be enough. She had already made her choice. Now it was time for him to make his. He didn't return that night. And when morning came, he ignored her calls. In the days that followed, he remained silent, his mind already set. There was no need for drawn-out arguments or desperate justifications. Instead, he began making quiet, deliberate plans. He filed for divorce with the same precision and control he had always applied to his work. No dramatics, no confrontation, just a clean break. When Selena found the papers sitting on the kitchen table, she was stunned. She had expected anger, accusations, maybe even pleas for her to stay. She had braced herself for a fight. But instead, there was nothing, just the weight of his absence and the finality of his decision. Leonardo's response to her betrayal wasn't rage. It wasn't vindictiveness. It was silence. And in that silence was a clarity she hadn't anticipated. As the divorce proceedings unfolded, Selena tried to reach out, to explain, to salvage something from the wreckage. But Leonardo had already moved on. He no longer needed her words. He no longer sought closure. He had made peace with his choice, even if she hadn't. Months passed, and Leonardo focused on rebuilding his life. He rediscovered old passions, hiking in the early morning hours, feeling the steady rhythm of his own breath against the backdrop of nature. He spent more time with friends, lost himself in books he had once neglected, and embraced opportunities to travel. For the first time in years, he felt truly like himself again. Selena, on the other hand, was left to confront the consequences of her choices. She sought distractions, tried to fill the void with fleeting relationships, but nothing lasted. The absence of Leonardo, his unwavering support, his quiet strength, the way he had always truly seen her, was a constant ache. And slowly, she began to realize that some losses were irreversible. One evening, months after the divorce had been finalized, she sent him a text. "I miss you. I regret everything." Leonardo read the message, his fingers hovering over the screen. He could feel the weight of the past pressing against him, the echo of emotions that had once consumed him. But he didn't reply, not immediately, not impulsively. Instead, he set his phone down, took a deep breath, and let it all wash over him. He had made the right decision. His life was moving forward. And though the pain of what had been would always linger, he knew it would not define him. As for Selena, her regret was now a silent echo in the void she had created. She had pushed away the one person who had truly known her, who had loved her without condition. And no amount of apologies or longing could change the fact that she had been the one to let him go. In the weeks that followed, the silence between them remained unbroken. Selena found herself reaching for her phone more often, scrolling through old messages, searching for traces of the life she had lost. But Leonardo was gone, and with each passing day, the reality of that absence grew heavier. Her once vibrant social circle had begun to shrink. The friends who had once cheered her on now seemed distant, their conversations empty. The independence she had once taken pride in now felt like isolation, leaving her vulnerable in a way she had never known before. She tried to move on, to pretend that life continued as it always had, but the truth was undeniable. The love she had taken for granted was gone. And in the quiet loneliness of her nights, she understood, too late, that some mistakes could never be undone.